In his famous quotation, a man by the name of Stephen Covey, he said, the main thing about the very first world, he says, are bound to have he calls it misfocused plans. And so whereby we end up doing things that are more urgent rather than doing things that are more important. So instead of doing that which is important, which is the priority, you end up doing that which is urgent. Hence, we live in a world that is too fast. You know, there's so many things that are happening in this world. The life is so fast, instant. The life is so fast, instant. We've been programmed to be fast in everything that we do, that we forget the most important thing, the main priority. And so our sermon today reminds us that of that main priority, the main thing. Our sermon is entitled, But One Thing is Needful. Jesus says, but one thing is needful. We read in the book of Luke chapter 10, and starting from verse 38, I'll read it again. Luke chapter 10, verse 38, and it says, now it came to pass as they went that he entered into a village, and a certain woman named Martha received him in her house. And she had a sister called Mary, which also sat at the feet of Jesus. It's important to underline also. She sat at the feet of Jesus. Verse 8. Now it came to pass, verse 40. But Martha was cumbered about much serving, and came to him and said, Lord, don't you care that my sister hath left me to serve alone? Don't you care, Lord, that my sister has left me to serve alone? That is Martha's worry. And so Jesus says to her in verse 41, and Jesus answered and said unto her, Martha, Martha, thou art careful and troubled about many things. Verse 42, but one thing is needful. That's the title of our sermon. But one thing is needful. That's what Christ says to Martha. One thing is needful. Mary has chosen that good part. One thing is needful. Jesus here is talking about the principle, the vital principle that is needed in our Christian journey. One thing, not two, but one thing. One thing is needful. Not Jesus, so many times, everything, the kingdom, that is the priority. Seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, and all these things shall be added unto you. What things? All these things, which things are to be added unto you? And now Jesus is addressing the priority, the main thing about our Christianity. He's addressing that. And he says, Mary has chosen that which cannot be taken away from her. She has chosen, other version says, she has chosen a good portion. I wonder as you sit here, as I stand here, what our priorities are. What is your priority? What is the priority as a Christian? What comes first in your life? Jesus says to Martha, you are worried about so many things. So, we are worried about so many things as we live. We are worried about so many things. What is it that worries us? Jesus says, Mary has chosen the right thing. You know, the way Jesus addresses Martha, he says, Martha, Martha. He calls him twice. This is very important. You know, there are a few occasions, well, maybe about 8 times when God calls people twice. If you read in the book of Genesis chapter 22, verse 11, God says, Abraham is about to kill his son as a sacrifice. That's Isaac. He says, Abraham, Abraham. God calls twice. Abraham, Abraham. That is a turning point. Stop what you're doing. That's the importance of the message. And also, as you read in Acts chapter 9, verse 4, why persecuteth me? And Saul turns around and he focuses on God. If you read also in, I think it's Luke chapter 22, Peter is about to deny, is about to be tempted by the devil to deny Jesus. And Jesus says, Simon, Simon. Peter, devil had desired to tempt you, but I've prayed for you. Simon, Simon. God calls twice when it's important. And here we see again, he says, Mother, Mother. But the Bible says he said to Mother, gentle, because he realizes that Mother is troubled and worried about so many things. But the question is, what was Mother doing there? What was she doing? And as you read the Bible, it says, Mother welcomes Jesus. That's a good thing to do. She welcomes Jesus. As Jesus comes to their home, she welcomes him, and Jesus is going with his disciples. And so they gather here at the house. And so what's the next thing to do when you have some visitors? Your guess is as good as mine. You cook for them, you prepare them, you want to make them feel comfortable. And so Mother, worried about cooking and doing all this, preparing for the people, she forgets that which is important. And she goes to Christ and say, don't you care, Master? Don't you care? Now, right there, how many times have we gone to God and say, God, don't you care what I go through? I don't know about you, but I've done it so many times. When I go through difficult times, I go to Christ and say, don't you care? I like the song that was written by one songwriter saying, does Jesus care when I go through all this? Now, Mother comes to, first she blames Jesus as if Jesus is the one who's wrong. Yet she's the one forgetting the priority, the main thing. She says, don't you care that my sister has left me alone to serve alone? She's preparing to serve, maybe I would say at least maybe 20 people, because Jesus said about 12 disciples and him, and the Bible says there were some people also who were following. So a number of people gathered there. And so Mother is doing a good thing. She's preparing food, which all of us would do. And she goes to complain to Christ and say, Lord, do you care? Don't you care that my sister has forgotten me? And Jesus says to her, Mary has chosen the right thing. Don't be troubled about so many things. How many of us this morning are troubled like Martha about so many things? As we sit here, as we stand here, how many of us are like Martha, troubled about so many things happening in our lives? And this happens to all of us. And so Jesus is addressing the main thing here, the priority of our Christian journey. He's saying to Martha, Martha, you can't go on like that. And this is the world that we live in. The world we live in is we cannot go on like that. God has designed, especially now as we gather here, God has designed the Sabbath for us to rest. This is why at some point as he was going with the disciples, he says, come, rest a while. Jesus knows that in this life we will go through troubles and trials and everything, but all that he says is, come, learn of me. Jesus then says, Mary had chosen that which shall not be taken away. But the question is, what did Mary choose? What was she doing? The Bible then says, Mary was sitting at the feet of Jesus. And remember, verse 39 says, Mary also, that word also means something. Mary also who sat at the feet of Jesus also means that after doing something else, it's not like, she was just sitting there. But she knew how to prioritize what's important. And at the moment where she was, it was an important thing, learning from Jesus, sitting at the feet of Jesus. And that is what Christ is inviting you and I to do, sit at the feet of Jesus. Mary, cumbered about so many things, worried about so many things, reminds me of all of us here. You know, the year has just begun. And there are some, what we call them, when people plan for the year. Yes, resolutions is the word. Thank you. Resolutions. And people are going to be focused on so many things and forget that which is priority, sitting at the feet of Jesus. Jesus is reminding us that you can do all the things, but there is one thing that is important, sitting at the feet of Jesus. You know, the church has chosen some officers who are going to work this year, in the vineyard. There are some elders, there are some deacons, all the departments. People are going to be working. God expects us to work. And so Martha wasn't doing anything bad if we come to think of it. She wasn't. She was doing, actually, it was right, but you can